What's good, everybody? Inada here, back with another Shinobi Striker video. Instead of doing polls, I instead decided to go by the most liked comment in my Flying Raijin video. And the comment that got the most likes was Heavenly Hand Power. So if you have a technique that you'd like to be featured on the next Shinobi Tactics, make sure to name your jutsu in the comments below and hope that it gets the most likes. So if you're a range type looking to have a more versatile fighting style, become the ultimate tag team partner, or you're looking to have more control of the battlefield, then this is definitely the video for you. However, if you don't fit into any of those categories, stick around until the end of the video because I might just say something that you didn't already know about. Today's Shinobi Tactics question is, what is your favorite Rinnegan ability? Make sure to let me know down in the comments below. And with that said, let's jump into today's episode of Inada's Shinobi Tactics. Heavenly Hand Power is a range type technique that you learn from Sasuke Uchiha Boruto at training rank 3. It has a 16-second cooldown duration. Heavenly Hand Power's description reads, a visual jutsu activated by the Rinnegan that lets the user instantaneously switch with any space of their choosing. When targeting an enemy, the user will immediately switch places with that enemy. We'll go ahead and give this first Shinobi tactic to the ones who just want a simple way to use Heavenly Hand Power, and then we'll jump into the more technical and, in my opinion, more useful ways to use Heavenly Hand Power. If you're new to using Heavenly Hand Power, you don't really want to throw it out just because you have it. In most cases, you want to have some sort of setup already laid out. One of the main ways Heavenly Hand Power is used is to put people on top of Haku's 1,000 Needles of Death, or stationary tags such as a Ceiling Tag Fake, Paralysis Seal, and Weighted Seal. Me personally, I don't like to do this with 1,000 Needles of Death because it means you always have to use both jutsu consecutively every single time. But even with that being said, combining the two isn't that bad. You're almost guaranteed to land the jutsu that way every single time. When it comes to using Heavenly Hand Power with ninja tools, this can also be very useful, especially with the effects that the ninja tools give. However, if you're like me and like using ranged weapons other than the Kusanagi sword, before switching someone onto a seal, just like with just about every other jutsu in the game, make sure your opponent wastes their substitution before you switch them onto a ninjutsu or ninja tool. Doing it this way gives you way better combo potential than normal since they can't sub or jump out of your attacks. Although you don't have to do it this way, one of the ninja tools I like to pair with Heavenly Hand Power is the Weighted Seal. When using Heavenly Hand Power with the Weighted Seal, not only does it allow you to land your more difficult to land techniques, such as Amaterasu or Heaven Conceal, it also allows you to close in on your opponent to pull off some close range combos to deal a bit more damage.
Heavenly Hand Power! Heaven Conceal! Lightning Net! Surprise, motherfucker! NANI?
When using Heavenly Hand Power, I tend to act more as a support fighter than a front liner. But because I usually employ a counter-attacking fighting style, this works perfect for me. But whether you're an aggressive close range type or more of a keep your distance range type, Heavenly Hand Power allows you to have more control over the battlefield, being able to move yourself and your enemies wherever you choose. Being able to control the battlefield allows you to be able to employ any fighting style you want, making Heavenly Hand Power a good jutsu to use in just about any situation. I will say though that because of Heavenly Hand Power's long activation time, I would advise having a good amount of distance between you and your enemies before using it, because if they hit you while you're still activating it, not only will you not switch with your target, your jutsu will still go on cooldown. However, this long activation time can come in handy sometimes. The switch doesn't actually happen until your character faces towards the enemy. Because of this, something I do to catch my enemies off guard is when facing a predictable enemy, I start my Heavenly Hand Power before they're even in my line of sight. This way, as soon as they appear, it's an instant swap and I can take advantage of the situation from there. Some people have actually got so used to facing off against Heavenly Hand Power users that they know the exact moment when to dodge to avoid it. So using Heavenly Hand Power in this way is highly effective when fighting against players who know how to dodge it. While also going with the theme of support, another thing that I do to help my teammate out is when I see their health is getting low and they have an aggressive fighter on top of them, I swap places with their attacker so that my teammate can get to safety.
I'm not going to lose you!
Heavenly Hand Power can also be used defensively, as it counters a lot of the annoying jutsu in the game such as Kamui Bond, Kamui Climax, Spike Human Boulder, Hazan Strike, etc. That's right, I said it, it can also counter Hazan Strike. Every time you use Heavenly Hand Power on someone using Kamui, whether it be a range type or a defense type, they'll instantly be taken out of it, allowing you to once again deal some damage to your enemy. When facing opponents who use Kamui, it's rare that they'll actually attack you right after they activate it. Most of them like to either run away or just stand in place. I said earlier that it's better to use Heavenly Hand Power if you have a bit of distance between you and your enemy, but in the case of Kamui users, Most of the time it's perfectly fine to try to activate it right in front of their face, since they won't even think about attacking you anyway.
What will you learn? That your actions have consequences!
For the more exciting counter, Heavenly Hand Power versus Hazan Strike.
Oh yeah!
What I usually do is once I've confirmed an opponent uses Hazan Strike, I try to keep as much distance in between me and my opponent as I can, because a Hazan Strike is coming at any second. As soon as you see them enter that stance, activate Heavenly Hand Power. By the time they get close to you, you'll switch with them, which will make their jutsu not only miss, but also go into cooldown. I also use the same method when fighting against Majestic Destroyer Flame or Fireball users. As crazy as it may sound, Heavenly Hand Power can also be used offensively.
You expect me to believe all this?
This is something that the description doesn't tell you, but as soon as you switch places with an enemy, you can instantly attack. You don't have to wait for your screen to adjust. One of my favorite things about Heavenly Hand Power is how you can use it to combo up with your friends. If you have someone on your team using Lightning Style Thunderclap Arrow, as soon as your teammate uses the Water Style portion of the jutsu, just stand on top of it and swap places with an enemy so that you and your teammate can team up for a collaboration jutsu. That's only one example. There's tons of other combos you can pull off with your friends when using Heavenly Hand Power. Heavenly Hand Power's combo potential also extends to survival exercise. There, you can also use this type of setup to steal kills away from your enemies, or even get an assist kill to get points for yourself. I don't condone teaming up in survival exercise though, except if you see a modder. If you see one of those, make sure to hit them with every team combo you can think of.
Not like that!
Heavenly Hand Power also makes you very versatile in flag combat.
Hold up!
Flag combat, flag combat, flag combat.
What?
Able to defend the flag or run the flag. My personal opinion is you don't want to try to run the flag with Heavenly Hand Power unless you know the enemy team is super aggressive. When it comes to defending the flag with Heavenly Hand Power, my personal favorite ninja tool is the Weighted Seal. But since that's a 10/10 Scroll Shop exclusive item, I'll only talk about the Paralysis Seal. When using Heavenly Hand Power in flag battle defensively, you always want to be on top of where your flag is and keep at least one Paralysis Seal on top of the flag at all times if possible. Every time an enemy steps on the flag, they'll trigger it, stunning them. If the enemy team does manage to grab your flag and starts to run for it, you never want to be right on top of your enemy. Swap places with them in a location that's closer to your flag and further away from theirs, so that way it'll take them longer to get back to their base. When it comes to going after the enemy's flag, you should only do this with Heavenly Hand Power if the team you're facing is super aggressive. The reason for this is because when you're on your way back to your base to capture the flag, they'll usually be fighting your teammates still trying to take your flag, or they'll be waiting at your flag so that they can stop you from capturing theirs. So when you switch places with them, they'll never see it coming. There's also those that really underestimate Heavenly Hand Power and will stand on your base waiting for you to come within range to attack you. When you're faced against people like this, just choose a target and switch places. Here's another feature that I felt was cool. Whenever you get trapped in hit and miss jutsu, if you switch with somebody, you'll be able to see where you're going for just a second, allowing you to visualize where you want to go. As a range type, it's not uncommon for the enemy to single you out. There's plenty of times where 3 to 4 enemies come charging at me at the same time. In situations like these, Heavenly Hand Power can be used to escape. When you know you're about to get jumped and you're using Heavenly Hand Power, the person you want to focus on the most is the person all the way in the back. As soon as you know you got enough space in between you and your enemies, use Heavenly Hand Power on the enemy in the back and you instantly have a way to escape your attackers and regroup with your team. This is also useful in flag battle when you have the flag and you see the enemy team coming after you. But to make full use of this, here's a tip that'll let you use Heavenly Hand Power in a way that the other team won't see it coming, and you'll have plenty of time to complete your objective. You don't always have to be in range to where you can lock onto your enemy when using Heavenly Hand Power to swap.
What did that just mean?
Feudal. Heavenly Hand Power!
If you time your Heavenly Hand Power just right and use it right before either you or your target chakra jumps away, even when they get out of your maximum range, as long as there isn't an obstacle between the two of you, you will still swap places with your target as long as you start up the animation while your opponent is within range. The timing will take some getting used to, but once you have it down, as long as there aren't too many people in the way, you should be able to get what you're going for every single time. And that's all for today's Shinobi Tactics video. Hopefully this video gave you some ideas on how to use Heavenly Hand Power in your future battles. Let me know down in the comments if you learned anything new or if you think I missed anything that you feel is important. While you're at it, if you enjoy this type of content and would like to see more, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more Shinobi Striker content. If you're interested, you can also check out the videos on your screen right now to hold you over until my next video. Thanks for watching. My name is Inada, and we out here making major moves.